Hello and welcome to The Buck Stops Here, my Football Manager Mobile 2018 save with Telford United. Why Telford, I hear you ask? Well, for around about 25 years of my life, they were my local team, so a good chance to manage them and see if we can get them shooting back up the leagues. We'll start by taking a look at some general information about the club. So as you can see, I've been appointed the manager there, and we're a semi-professional team in the Vanarama National League North. So a couple of steps before we even get into the league. Unsurprisingly, we're not involved in any continental competitions, and the new Bucks Head does have a capacity of 5,622, so hopefully we'll soon be packing out the ground and seeing plenty of support for the team as we start climbing up the leagues. We've got some excellent training facilities, but our youth facilities are below average. Let's take a look at the team with team report. So you can see that we've got a number of positives and a number of negatives. We'll start with the positives to begin with. So we've got lots of natural leaders, so that will hopefully be very helpful. And we've also got a calm and amicable group of players, so hopefully everybody's going to get on with one another. We've got quite a young side, and that's one thing that I normally end up with teams that I'm managing, is I end up signing lots of young players and hope that I can help them develop and progress. We've got plenty of pace in the side as well, so that could be useful for exploiting some slower defences, and they're also highly energetic as well. It's encouraging to see that we possess a number of technically gifted players, perhaps not something that's necessarily associated with sort of Vanarama North level, but you never know, it could come in handy for us, particularly as we've also got a great deal of creativity to go with it, and we're making the right decisions at key moments. So hopefully when we do get ourselves in front of goal, we're going to be able to make the right choices. I'm also pleased to see that we've got some great depth in both the right fullback position and in the central midfield, and also up front as well, so plenty of options there if we do start to get hit by injuries or suspensions, particularly the central midfield and striker positions I would imagine being key, although it's always useful to have some good right backs. As you can see as well, we've also got excellent sort of training facilities, and also our youth facilities are amongst the best in the division, even though they were showing as being below average, and also we've got one of the best backroom teams in the division as well, so plenty of positives there. On the negatives though, we do appear to be lacking in determination, so that could be a bit of an issue if we start going a goal or two down in games, and they also seem to be quite disloyal as well, so if better offers come along, could end up seeing players wanting to go. Going back to the determination, the work rate also appears to be lower than other teams in the league, so again, if we're a goal or two down, it could be an issue for us. Seems to be lacking in physicality as well, which again in the National League North, I just wonder if again that could be an issue at some point in the season. However, whilst we did have plenty of areas in which we were, or which we have plenty of depth in, we are lacking depth in both in the goalkeeping position, the left fullback, the central defensive midfielder, and the left winger. Central defensive midfielder I'm not too concerned about. It's not something that I'm necessarily going to be playing a lot with. Goalkeeping is particularly of a concern because if our first choice keeper gets injured, that's instantly going to be putting pressure on us. We do only have limited transfer funds, which, to be fair, I was expecting, and we are currently operating over our total wage bill. That's mainly due to the fact that I have brought in a number of players before the season begins, and we'll take a look at the transfers that have been happening at the club. So as you can see, I've let two players go. Ishan Greer I sold to Gainsborough for £1,000, and Dan Francis left us to join Leamington, and that was in a deal worth £950. Both were sort of squad players at best, so quite happy to free up a bit of extra money in terms of the wages and also get some money in for them. In terms of signings, you can see I've brought in 6 players, 4 of whom I've signed and 2 on loan from Shrewsbury. So players that I've signed are Faustin Michaela, Adam Henley, Owain Jones and Stephen Arthurworry. And my 2 loan signings are Tyrone Afori and Ryan Barnett. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take a look at the squad. So starting off, you can see that I've got my goalkeeper of Jasbir Singh, so we'll take a quick look at him. Generally quite encouraging in terms of his techniques. Mental sort of stats are generally okay, and he's got plenty of stamina. I'm not quite certain how useful that's going to be for a keeper, but he's put in some good solid sevens for us in pre-season. We'll take a look at our right back now, or our first choice right back, Aaron Simpson. So Aaron Simpson, we've got him on loan from Wolves, and reasonably good player. Taking a look at his stats in pre-season, see that he's put in again some good performances for us, so hopefully that will continue throughout the season. We do have him on loan for the season. At left back, Adam Henley, one of the signings that I made, and as you can see, he's worth £325,000, which I was amazed by for how we were able to actually get him for our team. He's got 2 caps for Wales and he's only 23 years old. It could be interesting to see how long we're able to keep him at the club for. He's really quick, so hopefully if he can get himself up on some overlaps, he'll be able to really have an influence on the game. In central defence, another one of my new signings, Stephen Arthurworry. Again, nice and solid in pre-season and just shoring up the defence as well. As you can see, he's quite strong on the tackling. He's good aerially as well, which is obviously going to be of some use for us as well. His central defensive partner is Aaron Hayden, another player who's on loan from Wolves, another loan signing that I'd inherited. Again, pretty good pre-season, fairly solid at the back. His tackling's quite strong, aerially he's quite strong, but I don't think we're going to be relying on him for too much else. Definitely a sort of player who's going to perform a good job defensively, but not perhaps going to offer too much going forwards for us. Moving on now, so we've got Jordan Lussey in the midfield. Solid all-round player. Again, a strong pre-season that he's had, so sort of 7s and 8s. Not really excelling in any one area, but a good all-rounder. His midfield partner, who game has for some unknown reason just taken off for me, is going to be Ryan Barnett, who I brought in from Shrewsbury Town on loan. So let's just take a quick look at his stats as well. So as you can see again, nice and solid all-rounder. Leadership's a bit lacking, but there are plenty of other players who can step up there. Technically, very good. Positioning and movement is all quite good, so hopefully that's really going to help in that midfield. Again, he's on loan for the season. Moving on now, so we've got Owain Jones, one of my signings who's going to be playing on the or as an attacking right midfielder. He can certainly hit across, which is encouraging to see. Again, technically quite good. His pace is strong as well, so hopefully he's going to be able to worry defences in the league. Attacking midfielder left is Faustin Michaela. He's really the only attacking left midfielder that I've got. It is a position that we're very short in. When I first took over the club, we were relying on strikers playing out wide on the left if we were going to be playing with this formation, which I'm quite keen to do. So he's a player that I could do with keeping fit, particularly as I've got nobody else who can sort of step in there at the moment. That is definitely going to be an area, though, that I do look to perhaps bring in further cover for. Again, crossing is good, pace is good, so hopefully you'll be able to beat a defender and put a reasonable cross in for us to get players attacking. Then playing just behind the striker is going to be John Marsden. Shooting's good and he's okay in most other areas. He's another player who's had a good pre-season, so he had a 6 where he came on as a substitute, but after that, when he's been starting, we've seen 9s and 8s, and he's also been able to chip in with a couple of goals as well, which has been very welcome. Final player in my preferred starting 11 is Tyrone Ofori, who I brought in on loan, season-long loan from Shrewsbury Town. And wow, just take a look at his form in pre-season. 10, 10, 8 and 8, so we've had 4 pre-season games. And in that time, he's managed to score 7 goals. So hopefully he's going to be able to keep that up as we go throughout the season. Shooting's not too bad. Got a bit of pace as well. But as I say, if he can keep up sort of 7 goals every 4 games, I'm confident we're going to have a very good season. Just move on now to the subs and the rest of the team. Probably won't say too much more about those players though, but just a quick chance to see what else we've got in the squad. So first choice sub keeper is Sheridan Martinez. I think he could probably do a job if needed, but goalkeeper is an area that we are looking to develop and get further signings in, so he could very well fall down the pecking order if we do that. Also on the subs bench is going to be Ross White. He can play either in the centre of defence or on the right hand side of defence, so offering a bit of cover there. Stats aren't overly great, but a bit versatile, which is always useful to have on the bench. We've also got Ryan Wilson, who can play on the left hand side and if pushed could step into the centre of defence as well. So again, a bit of versatility on the bench, which is always handy to have. Moving on, we've also got Henry Cowans on the bench. He's a midfielder, perhaps more attacking than the other two, so if we're behind in a game, I can see him being a player that we bring on who looks to get things going for us as we try and claw our way back into games. And finally, striker on the bench is going to be Matthew Barnes-Homer. He spent a lot of pre-season playing on the left-hand side before we brought in Michaela. So again, it's useful to know there's a bit of versatility there if required, in the sense that he can play anywhere pretty much up top for us. Other players in the squad, won't take a look at their stats, we'll just quickly go down so you can see that got a fair bit of cover across most areas, with the exception of that attacking midfielder left position. So that's definitely where my focus is going to be, either bringing somebody in or alternatively making another loan signing. Move on to our tactics now, so you can see how we're looking to play. So looking to play a 4-2-3-1. So fairly standard at the back, two ball winning midfielders, so we can have a fair bit of strength in there hopefully, and then really leave it down to our front four, who I think are quite talented to be able to win us the games. Michaela going to be playing as a winger, looking to get those crosses in, whilst with Jones I'd like him to be cutting in and offering a bit of support for Marsden, who's playing as a shadow striker, and then we've got a Forey up top as the poacher, and as I say, he's been rattling goals in pre-season, so I'm certainly hopeful that that's going to be able to continue. Speaking of pre-season, let's just take a look at how that's gone. So we started off with a 3-1 win at Chorley, O'Forey netting all three in that, so certainly an ideal start for him for his loan spell, even if it was only pre-season. We then played out an incredibly entertaining 4-4 draw with Dagenham and Redbridge. Certainly not expecting to have to keep on scoring 5 goals to be winning at home, but definitely those who were in attendance that day, I think it's fairly safe to say they got their money's worth. We then had a 3-1 win at home against Sutton and completed our pre-season with a trip to Truro, where we recorded a 2-0 victory. Something that I have noticed in the games is that certainly for the first half hour or so, we seem to be really impressive and good at grabbing a couple of early goals, and perhaps tailing off a little bit after that. Perhaps that's going back to some of the negatives on the squad in terms of things such as the work rate there. So that might be something to look out for as the season progresses. We kick off the season away against York, and then 3 days later we have our first home game against Brackley. My plans for the save are, it's not going to be recording and sharing every game. I'll be showing what I consider to be key games. Obviously I'm going to show both our first away game and our first home game as we get into the season, but from then it will start to become games that I think are going to be quite important, or any local derbies that we do have. What I'm also going to do though is be showing games where there are other people I know managing clubs in this league. So for example, I know that Captain Goodspeed, also on Twitter as Joe Hannard, he's managing Curzon Ashton, so that's definitely going to be a game that we'll be showing, so that Joe's able to see how Curzon Ashton can do against my Telford side. That's it. Looking forward to seeing you back for episode 2 of The Buck Stops Here, where we begin our campaign away against York.